Hello there. I am your instructor for today, and I am so excited to guide you through this lesson. We are exploring a very interesting part of the speaking section, the interview task. Imagine you are sitting in a comfortable room having a real conversation with an expert. You do not have any preparation time, so you need to be quick, clear, and very natural. Today, we will learn exactly how to handle questions about the fashion industry with confidence and style. Let us make this an enjoyable journey to your dream score. If you want to keep improving your skills and stay updated with the latest exam strategies, make sure to subscribe to my TOEFL and continue learning with us. Let us reach that high score together. You are participating in a consumer research group about the fashion industry. The moderator will now begin with some questions. We are starting with a clear setting for our conversation. You are part of a consumer research group focused on the fashion industry. This context is very important because it tells you to speak from the perspective of a regular shopper or a member of the public. The title also mentions a moderator who will lead the discussion. This prepares you to expect a series of related questions on this specific theme. Use this information to get into character and think about your shopping habits. Let us dive into our very first question. It is a classic choice-based prompt that asks about your shopping priorities. Interviewer: welcome. First, when you buy clothes, is price or quality more important to you? And why? In this first part of the TOEFL iBT speaking interview, the moderator is looking for your personal preference. The core of the question is price or quality. This is a preference question where you must pick a side and explain why. Since you have no preparation time, you should listen for those two options and choose one immediately in your mind. A great way to organize your thoughts is to state your choice, give a reason based on long-term value, and add a quick personal detail. A common mistake is giving a very short answer, like just saying you like low prices. You must elaborate. Talk to the interviewer as if you are sharing your honest thoughts. Remember, the goal is to show you can speak naturally and spontaneously. My tip for you is to use words that show your personal opinion, like personally or I have found. This makes you sound more like a native speaker. Personally, I found that prioritizing quality over price is the much smarter choice in the long run. This sentence works perfectly as a direct answer to the question. It clearly states a preference for prioritizing quality. By starting with personally, the speaker makes the response sound like a real conversation. The phrase, smarter choice in the long run, is excellent because it prepares the listener for a logical explanation. It is a strong opening that tells the interviewer exactly where the speaker stands. Now, the speaker needs to provide some evidence to support this claim. While a low price tag is certainly tempting, high-quality garments are generally made from better materials that withstand multiple washes and daily wear. This sentence provides a contrast and a deep reason. It acknowledges that a low price tag can be tempting, but it immediately shifts focus to high-quality garments. The speaker explains the benefit by mentioning better materials that withstand multiple washes. This shows the speaker is thinking about durability. Using while at the start is a great way to show a balanced perspective. It sounds sophisticated but still natural for a spoken response. From my experience, if I buy a cheap shirt, it often loses its shape or develops holes after just a few weeks, which means I have to replace it sooner. This is a fantastic personal example. The speaker uses the phrase, "from my experience," to make the answer more vivid and believable. By describing a cheap shirt that loses its shape or develops holes, the speaker illustrates the practical downside of buying for price alone. The phrase, "replace it sooner," highlights the negative consequence of the wrong choice. Examples like this are essential for a top score because they show you can elaborate on your ideas. This constant cycle of buying and discarding actually ends up costing more money than simply investing in a well-made piece initially. This sentence explains the cause and effect of the shopping habit. It describes a constant cycle of waste. The key point here is costing more money, which proves that the cheap option is actually more expensive over time. The phrase, "investing in a well-made piece," shows a very high level of vocabulary. It connects the dots between the example and the initial preference perfectly. Furthermore, focusing on quality helps reduce the sheer volume of textile waste we produce. The speaker adds a secondary reason here to show a broader perspective. By using "furthermore," they transition smoothly to a new point. This sentence mentions textile waste, which connects the topic to the environment. This demonstrates that the speaker can think beyond just their own wallet and consider wider impacts. Adding an extra point like this is a great way to use the full time allowed and show your range. For these reasons, I'd much rather save up for a durable item than settle for something inexpensive but poorly made. This is the concluding statement. It wraps up the whole answer by using "for these reasons." The speaker reinforces their preference for durable items and uses the phrase "settle for something" to show they do not want lower quality. It is a clean and confident finish. This leaves the interviewer with a very clear understanding of the speaker's position. Now we are ready for the next topic. Moving right along, let us look at the second question. This time, the moderator wants to hear your thoughts on fashion trends versus classic styles. Interviewer: some people buy trendy clothes often, while others prefer timeless styles. Which approach to fashion do you think is better? This question asks you to evaluate trendy clothes versus timeless styles. The moderator is looking for an answer to which approach is better. This is another comparison task, and you should aim to explain the benefits of one and perhaps the drawbacks of the other. To sound professional, think about sustainability or personal identity. Mentally, you should quickly decide which side is easier for you to defend with reasons. Don't worry about being right. Focus on being fluent and logical. Use transition words like "moreover" or "ultimately" to keep your flow smooth. A common mistake here is just describing both sides without saying which is better. Make sure your choice is clear from the very first sentence. My tip is to use specific examples of classic items to show your vocabulary range. In my opinion, adopting a timeless approach to fashion is far more beneficial than constantly chasing the latest trends. This sentence acts as a clear thesis statement. It starts with "in my opinion," which is a standard and effective way to begin a spoken response. It identifies the timeless approach as far more beneficial. The phrase "chasing the latest trends" is a natural idiom that adds a lot of character to the speech. It immediately answers the interviewer's question and sets the stage for the reasons to follow. Trendy clothes are designed to be relevant for only a few months, which encourages a disposable mindset that is both expensive and exhausting to maintain. Here, the speaker provides a strong reason by criticizing the alternative. They describe trendy clothes as having a short life. The phrase "disposable mindset" is a sophisticated way to explain why trends can be harmful. The adjectives "expensive" and "exhausting" add great descriptive weight. It explains why the speaker does not prefer the trend-focused approach, making their argument more convincing. By choosing classic pieces, like a well-tailored blazer or a simple white button-down, you can create a versatile wardrobe that looks sophisticated regardless of the current season. This sentence is all about concrete examples. Mentioning a well-tailored blazer and a white button-down shows a high level of specific vocabulary. The speaker describes the goal as a versatile wardrobe that looks sophisticated. This clearly illustrates the benefits of the timeless approach. Using "regardless of the current season" explains the logic of why these clothes are better over time. I've noticed that when I stick to timeless styles, I spend much less time worrying about what to wear because everything in my closet coordinates well. This sentence shares a personal observation. It makes the answer feel like a real conversation. The speaker mentions spending much less time worrying, which is a very relatable benefit. The phrase "coordinates well" is a great way to describe how the clothes work together. This sentence adds a human element to the response, which is always good for spoken tasks. Moreover, this approach allows individuals to develop a more authentic personal style, rather than just copying what is popular on social media at the moment. The speaker adds a philosophical reason here. They use "moreover" to introduce the idea of an authentic personal style. It contrasts this with copying what is popular on social media. This shows the speaker has a deep understanding of how fashion affects self-expression. It is a high-level idea that demonstrates strong language control. Ultimately, timeless fashion promotes a more intentional and sustainable way of living. This is the final concluding thought. It uses ultimately to signal the end of the answer. It summarizes the stance by linking fashion to sustainable living. This is a very professional and powerful way to finish. It leaves the interviewer with a high-level summary of the whole argument. Now we are ready for the third challenge. Great job so far. Now for our third question. This one is a bit more demanding because it asks you to solve a problem. Interviewer. The fast fashion industry creates a lot of waste. Propose 2 practical solutions for reducing the environmental impact of clothing. This question identifies waste as a major issue in the fast fashion industry and asks you to propose 2 practical solutions. This is a problem-solution task. You need to be very organized. Use clear markers like first and second to help the interviewer follow your ideas. Don't just list the solutions. Explain how they work to reduce the impact. Try to think of one solution for companies and one for individuals. This balance shows you can analyze a problem from multiple angles. A common mistake is being too vague, like saying, "People should just be better." You need specific actions. My tip is to think of a solution you have actually seen in real life, like recycling bins in stores, so you can describe it easily. To address the significant waste produced by fast fashion, I believe we should first implement more robust textile recycling and garment take-back programs at the corporate level. The speaker starts by framing the problem with the phrase, "to address the significant waste." This is a very formal and clear opening. They propose textile recycling and take-back programs at the corporate level. It is a professional and relevant solution that goes straight to the point. It shows the speaker can handle academic topics with ease. If major retailers provided convenient bins where customers could return old clothing, those materials could be repurposed into new fibers rather than ending up in a landfill. This sentence explains the mechanics of the first solution. It mentions convenient bins and the result of repurposing materials into new fibers. By contrasting this with ending up in a landfill, the speaker shows the positive outcome. This level of detail is excellent because it proves the solution is practical. It makes the answer much more convincing. A second practical solution involves educating consumers on basic garment repair and maintenance, such as how to fix a zipper or sew a loose button. Here, the speaker introduces the second practical solution. This time, it focuses on educating consumers. By giving specific examples like fix a zipper or sew a loose button, the speaker makes the idea very concrete. It shows they have a wide range of vocabulary for daily activities. It is a great shift from corporate to individual action. Many people throw away perfectly good clothes simply because of minor damage that could be repaired in just a few minutes. This sentence provides the reasoning for the second solution. It notes that clothes are tossed for minor damage. Using the phrase perfectly good clothes adds a bit of emphasis to the problem. It explains why education is necessary. This logical connection helps the interviewer see the value of the proposal. By empowering individuals to extend the life of their current wardrobe, we can drastically decrease the demand for new, cheap production. This sentence highlights the broader impact of the second solution. The speaker uses the word empowering, which is very strong. They explain that extending the life of clothes will decrease demand for new items. The phrase drastically decrease shows great confidence and language control. It links the individual action back to the big industrial problem. Combining corporate responsibility with individual action is the most effective way to mitigate the environmental footprint of the industry. The conclusion brings both solutions together. It mentions combining corporate responsibility with individual action. Using the word mitigate and environmental footprint demonstrates very advanced vocabulary. It summarizes the whole response into one powerful thought. It is a perfect way to end a complex answer. Now we are ready for the final question. We have made it to the last and final question. This one asks you to predict the future and analyze its impact on traditional business. Interviewer. In the future, how might the growing trend of renting clothes positively and negatively affect traditional clothing retail stores? The last question focuses on a future trend: renting clothes. You must explain how this positively and negatively affects traditional retail stores. This is a prediction and analysis task. You need to present both sides of the coin. Use clear markers like on the positive side and however to show the transition between the good and the bad. You are analyzing a business model here, so words like transformation, revenue, and logistics will help you sound like an expert. Be careful not to only talk about one side. The question specifically asks for both. A tip for you: try to think about how a store might change its services to adapt. This shows you can think critically and creatively. The rise of clothing rentals will likely force traditional retail stores to undergo a major transformation. The speaker sets the stage with a solid introductory sentence. It acknowledges that clothing rentals are on the rise and predicts a major transformation for stores. It is a perfect opening because it directly addresses the moderator's premise. Now, the speaker just needs to explain the positive and negative sides of this change. On the positive side, retailers could benefit by launching their own rental services, which allows them to tap into a younger, more environmentally conscious demographic that values access over ownership. This sentence covers the positive side of the trend. It suggests that stores could launch their own rental services. The speaker uses great vocabulary like environmentally conscious demographic and the phrase access over ownership. This shows a deep understanding of modern consumer behavior. It is a very well-developed point. This could create a more circular business model where high-quality items are rented out multiple times, increasing the total revenue generated from a single garment. This sentence elaborates on the business logic. It mentions a circular business model and explains how it could increase total revenue. Using terms like single garment shows precise language. It proves that renting is not just a trend, but a smart financial move for companies. It is a very strong analytical point. However, a significant negative impact would be the potential decline in overall sales volume for new clothing. The speaker uses "however" to transition to the negative impact. This is a very important marker for the listener. They point out a potential decline in sales volume for new clothes. This is a clear and logical drawback for traditional stores that rely on selling many items. It directly answers the second half of the moderator's question. If consumers prefer to rent outfits for special occasions rather than buy them, stores that rely solely on high-volume sales may struggle to stay profitable. This explains why the decline might happen. It mentions special occasions as a reason for renting. The phrase "struggle to stay profitable" is a great way to describe the business risk. It provides a realistic scenario that makes the analysis very believable. It shows the speaker can think about the consequences of market changes. Additionally, traditional retailers would have to invest heavily in logistics and sanitization to manage a rental fleet, which presents a complex operational challenge. The speaker adds a final operational challenge to the list of negatives. They mention logistics and sanitization. These are very specific and high-level terms. By calling it a complex operational challenge, the speaker wraps up the whole answer with a strong, technical conclusion. It is a perfect way to end the final question and the interview. You did it.